Greetings and welcome to another excellent Trappy Trap video. I'm going to show you another double king pawn opening trap that comes from an old opening that you just don't see very often. So it's not really useful on the practical sense, but the tactics are helpful. Three, two, one. Greetings and welcome to another excellent Trappy Traps opening video. I'm going to show you a strange trap from another king pawn opening, but one that you don't see very often. So it's not useful in something you can zap somebody with specifically, but it's super useful to teach you how to integrate tactical thinking into your openings. And we're going to get to this here. Double king pawn, e4, e5. Knight f3, knight c6. You played this a zillion times, or probably close to it anyway. And here, c3. You know, one of the things is, what are we trying to do? So, yes, my father would say, what's he trying to do to me? Or what are we trying to do to him? Or we're trying to play d4. So one of the things, you'll see people who have played, like if they play the Italian game Gioco Piano, bishop to c5. Well, bishop to c5, you're just going to play pawn to d4. And if he plays pawn takes, you play pawn takes. Knight and queen, two defenders, against his bishop and knight, two attackers, so he can't take it. And if he's a Gioco Piano type of player, he's going to be like, I don't want to play this move, so let me play something. Let me play this, two knights defense. You're like, okay, fine. Now this opening is very trappy. So here we're going to play d4. All right, e takes d4. You're going to respond to this with e5. He plays knight to d5. You get to play this. And you've gained space, what have you. You know, it's nothing super killer on its own. This is not the killing stuff. The killing stuff is here. If he doesn't want to take that, he can play knight takes e4. If he plays knight takes e4, d5, and this is where the complications start setting in. Where does he go? Well, the move he should play is like knight to e7. He might go knight a5 or knight to b8 if he's, paranoid. So we're gaining as we play this. But he can also play, hang on a second about that. Oh, I'm sorry. Not, okay, imbecile. Okay, if he plays knight e7, we play knight takes e5. All right. And the problem he has is that, like I said, super trappy and super dangerous. And what makes this super dangerous is that one of the most obvious moves is to play d6 for black. And this move is quite dangerous because it runs into a killer tactical sequence where you play bishop checks. Now you could, instead of this, you could play a much simpler version. It's not as devastatingly winning. This just does win a piece, though. There's nothing he can do about it. He can play c6 and queen takes free knight. Now this is the well, it's not a free knight. You're going to play. He'll play pawn takes knight. You're going to play queen takes pawn, but you're winning material. The bishop move is the killer because he basically cannot play bishop takes. He cannot interpose the bishop. If he plays bishop d7, you play bishop takes bishop check, and queen takes bishop, and knight takes queen. He's lost his queen, so that doesn't work. Knight c6, pawn takes knight. If he takes your knight, then you get to play pawn takes pawn, discovered check from the bishop, and win this rook in the corner. It's ugly. The least damaging move he can play is c6. But this bishop is devastating because this pawn is helping the attack here. He can't play the natural knight takes c6 because knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes check. Is just crushing, forking rook, knight, and king at the same time. It's crazy. So, knight takes c6 doesn't work. If he plays what, pawn takes c6? No, that's not the right move. Pawn takes c6 also doesn't work. You play knight takes pawn. There's a trappy move he can play here, counterattacking a checkmate on f2. All right? So he threatens to counter your attack here. But you have business of your own that can be played. And that move is pawn takes pawn, discovered check. The point is, if he takes your bishop, you play pawn takes rook equals queen. He's off of his checkmate. So the point of queen b6 is really to checkmate you as soon as he's not under check. So he can't take the bishop because he gives up the checkmate threat. So the dangerous move that he could play is king to d8. Because if you take the rook and make a queen, it's checkmate. So you have to check him. Every move you play must be a check. The only other checks you have are knight to c6, and he would just play knight takes knight, and you're screwed. Or knight to takes f7 check, which is a killer move. And his problem now is that we have this fence bishop blocking the diagonal. He can't go to the white squares. The only move he's got here is king c7. But any of these moves are the same. It's just, you should just resign. Because now, pawn takes rook, not a queen. Again, if you don't check him, it's checkmate. You're staring down the barrel of checkmate. So we hit him with a check. Pawn takes rook equals knight, and now we win his queen. At this point, he's going to give up and resign. Once you take their queen from them, they tend to not want to hang around for very long. Strange, I know, but that's the way it is. So very dangerous trap idea. But the point is that we make threat after threat after threat by analyzing what's going on. Let's look at this again. This bishop check is a devastating move because this knight leaving f6 makes this d7 square, which doesn't look weak visually, but it actually is weak because he can't stick a piece on it because you've got too many pieces. If this knight was on f6, he could play bishop d7 and you got nothing. So, like I said, he's just annihilated. He can't play this because this move is destroying. The sequence is just destroying for black. It's over. I'll take rook or knight, depending on what you do. Bishop comes up forward. Bishop takes free knight. And you're just a piece ahead. He's got nothing. If he moves his king, you just take the rook and threaten him to take the knight again. It's nasty stuff, man. So you can't do this. And so again, I'm going to go through this and really clarify it. So he can't do anything recapturing. All he can do is it's like every move stopping this bishop business doesn't stop it. So queen to b6, instead of recapturing, make a counter threat. So black counter threats by checkmating. This is the idea. Queen takes f2. So now you look at the situation. What is he trying to do to me? Is my father's rule number 2. And what he's trying to do to me is checkmate me as soon as I don't check him. It's really not that complicated. But you have to understand the hierarchy. You've got to check him because as soon as you don't check him and make a move, he checkmates you. So the only move we have that's checked, or we do have technically defensive moves on this. But the problem we have is that he's threatening to checkmate us and take my bishop. So if I play bishop e3 defending, he waits queen takes free bishop, and his problems are over. So this is a super attacking move, even though it's objectively losing. Check. That's all we want are checks. So again, bishop comes up, we would just ream him. with bishop takes bishop, check. And now our bishop is out of danger, and we can play bishop to e3, blocking. So if he plays this, he's annihilated here. And at the very least, we can play this. We also have queen to c2 attacking the knight and defending the checkmate. We also have, if you want to be honest, just castle. We just castle. I don't want to move the queen. I'd rather castle, because if he plays pawn takes knight, then we get nasty stuff like pawn takes rook equals queen check. It's horrible for him. He's just minus 13. He's destroyed. He can't play that move. So the only thing he can do is avoid a check, and that is king to d8. So again, hierarchy says we must check him. If we fail to check him, he'll checkmate us. Knight c6 loses, clearly. Knight takes knight, and it's just over. Well, not over, but as soon as it's no longer check, we play knight take. He plays knight takes c6, and now when you don't check him, you get checkmated, or he takes your bishop. So we're fine with that. Check, and also it's not under capture threat. So here you go. So it's the whole hierarchy of you must check him, and when you stop the checking, you lose, unless your bishop is safe. Now you could technically, but the problem you have here is you could technically play queen e2 and solve the things I mentioned, but I forgot that this move has a weakness, and that weakness is that he's got pawn takes knight. So he's threatening queen takes bishop, queen takes f2 check, and pawn takes knight. 99.9% of the time, this combo triple threat is a winner. This is the one time I guess that it doesn't win, because you have this killer check, and you have this killer check as well. And it's time to resign. So hopefully you learned something from this crazy concept of what's he trying to do to me, what am I trying to do to him, and then structuring a hierarchy to run tactically and execute the position properly. It's easier said than done, but when you've seen it done, that puts you a step up and closer to being able to do it yourself. Super difficult, but I hopefully made it a little bit simpler and easier for you to understand. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you can show your friends, leave a like, what have you. Check out my other videos, mega trainings. These will help you. You've got to strengthen your tactics. It's like lifting weights. You don't build muscles if you don't lift weights. So do that, and it will help your game a lot. So hopefully I'll see you guys again in another video. And as always, like and subscribe.